Hey guys, it's Kaylee. I'm back with another What Sold from Last Week video. In today's video, we're going to be discussing sales on eBay and Poshmark over the last week. So in the beginning of this video, I will do a quick breakdown of sales where I show you a spreadsheet that basically breaks down some of the numbers for you, puts things into perspective, and then we will dive into some individual sales and talk about why they sold, for how quickly they did, and for how much they did. Hopefully you guys learned some bolos in this video. All right, so these sales that we're going over happened between June 2nd through the 8th. This is about a week after that experiment ended with the promoted listings. So you can see my sales have basically stabilized a little bit. They're not, as crazy as they were, but considering the month, I feel like they are higher than they would normally be still in June. So I'm holding strong with the promoted listings still, and I'm making sure to include that here. In total, I sold 270 items for a gross item sales, and I wanted to address that because I got a lot of comments in my last video asking about this, even though it has been this way for a while. So the gross item sales are just the gross amount of just the items themselves. So it's basically the gross amount less how much I received for shipping. And the reason I did it this way was just for my own reasons to know, like, okay, gross item sales were this. That gives me a more accurate understanding of my average item sale price. So not including shipping, so that I know just where I'm at overall with the item average sale price. So that's why it's like that. So technically, the gross item sales are closer to like $9,300, but just for the items, this is how I'm calculating it. So gross item sales was around $8,500. My average sale price in total, which I'm pretty happy with, is $31.51. So continuing to try and raise back up this average sale price, and we're selling a lot of older items from the promoted listing, so I'm happy to move them out. But unfortunately, that does mean that the average item sale price for both, for eBay is lower than it normally is. Sometimes I have this close to $40, but it all pans out. And just so you know, we still are working on getting this closer to 40. It just takes time. So on eBay, I sold 193 items, and on Poshmark, I sold 77. My average item sale price on eBay was close to $33, and then on Poshmark, it was around 28, which is actually much higher than normal for Poshmark. So that was interesting, probably because I was selling all the older items on eBay with promoted listings versus doing closet clear out and stuff like that on Posh. So overall, pretty happy with those numbers, and let's dive into some of these sales. All right, this first one is a brand that retails for a lot. It's called Valentino Roma. I don't know if that's like a subline of Valentino. I'm not sure. Regardless, if you look up Valentino Roma blazers, there are a ton on the market. And even though this probably did retail for a lot of money, the resale value is not quite there just because sell-through rate is so low. So just because an item has a lower sell-through rate, even though we do focus on a high sell-through rate model, does not mean that we won't still pick it up and just price it lower to get it to move, which is basically what we did with this one. I think we originally priced it close to $100 or best offer. Most people have them priced for hundreds, and it has sat longer than 90 days, so we started dropping the price. I ultimately ended up accepting a best offer of $60 to get it moving, and when I say the sell-through rate is really low, I mean it's very low. So I think it was like 2 sold to like hundreds available. So I was happy with a $60 sale. Again, I'm just happy to make money even when this sell-through rate is low, as long as it means I can make a decent profit in a quick amount of time, which is the reason for dropping prices after 90 days. This is another one that has been sitting. We listed this back in November and originally priced it too high. This is the brand Frank and Eileen. I just thought this was worth mentioning because I think by now everybody knows the brand Frank and Eileen, but this is not something typical that you would think to look for. This is like a drop t-shirt, and it was actually manufactured with this kind of raw hem. It was called the Theo Perfect t-shirt. So we're all used to seeing the Frank and Eileen button-ups, but I thought it was worth mentioning that they do make other stuff, and this would be one of those pieces. So like I said, I originally priced way too high. It ended up selling on a drop price of around $73 for this t-shirt. And the reason it was priced so high to begin with was because there wasn't a lot of this t-shirt on the market, so I kind of had to make up a price and accept best offer. Next up, this is the brand that nobody can read or remember the name of. It is Gudrun Sogen, and here's how it's actually spelled. I always tell myself as long as I can remember Gudrun, then as soon as I start typing that on eBay, the rest of it pops up, so I don't have to remember the last part. But this is a great log and look brand. They make some pretty high quality materials. We were lucky enough to get this one new with tags. You can see pretty high retail value on it, retailed for around $100. And we went ahead and listed this around $65. It did sell for our full asking price. And it did only take a couple of weeks to sell. So you can see $65 out of the close to 100. Looks like could have gotten it for 88. So pretty close to retail price. Anytime you can get a new with tags item for close to retail price, like you know that there is a following in the brand. So definitely want to memorize this one. I pick up anything that I find. I sold a lot of shoes this week, so I thought I would share some of these with you, and thank you to my wholesalers who have been offering shoes to us. It's been a lot of fun. This is the brand SAS, S-A-S, which is like a comfort brand. These are, well, they used to be a bolo and anything you could find. I think they are slightly oversaturated now, so I think it depends on like the condition and what you have. These ones were in pretty great condition. There was a couple of light spots, but otherwise were really great condition. And it was men's, so I think that helped up the value. We listed these for $60, and they did sell for a full asking price, and they took about a month to sell. Next up, I've got another pair of shoes. This is Johnston and Murphy. Let's see if I can find, there's the brand label for you. These were a pair of boots. Now this brand Johnston and Murphy I come across fairly often in dress shoes. They're pretty oversaturated, but anytime I come across a really nice pair of men's leather boot, I almost always look it up. They make less ankle leather boots for men than they do like the loafers and dress shoes. So I just always look them up. They tend to be more rare and they tend to sell for a good profit. So this one I also got in wholesale. We listed it for $50 and it did sell for our full asking price. And it sold within a few weeks of being listed. Another pair of men's shoes. This is another brand that I feel like resellers pass on a lot. It is Timberland. Anything Timberland, especially in the men's department, I feel like if it's in good condition, like you're probably going to get close to $50 for it. I find Timberlands the bins all the time, and people just pass on them, but they're very high quality shoes. And like I said, in the men's department specifically, they have a really high sell-through rate in most things. So it is worth looking into. And some of their pieces are made to look kind of distressed leather-ish. These were a really nice pair of, they were called the Ballaster Chukka boots. We listed these for $50 and they did sell for our full asking price. Let's see how quickly these ones sold. These ones sold within 3 days of being listed. Next up, a dress brand I don't come across very often, but it's a pretty decent brand. It is Antica Santeria. I don't believe there's 100% sell-through rate on this, but if you're willing to wait for the right buyer, you can get pretty decent prices for it, which was the case with this one. This ended up selling for around $54. However, it did take a while to sell, and I think that's because we listed this last winter, which obviously is not the right season for this, but it still ended up selling, even new with defects. So it was new with tags, but it did have some spots. All right, this is a vintage sale. I love vintage sales. Lots of men's in today's video. This is a vintage Champion Atlanta 1996 Olympics t-shirts. Not much else to say about it. Just a really cool shirt. I love selling vintage shirts. Most of them that I come across don't have good enough subject matter. However, this one did. We listed this for $55 and it did sell for our full asking price, and it only took a few weeks to sell. This is a pair of We the Free jeans. I almost always steer clear of any kind of Free People or We the Free jeans. I come across a lot of them actually. And the trick with these is you got to pick up the super flare or the wide legs. Like, don't pick up any type of skinny leg in We the Free or Free People. It just does not sell. Flare or wide leg, however, is a different story. These ones were called the Jade Flare Leg jeans in a size 24, which is extremely small, but a great style. We listed these for $40 and they did sell for our full asking price. Next up, this is a brand you're going to see quite a bit of in this video. It is Vitamin A. They are known for their linen pieces. I think they might also make swimwear. I can't remember, but for sure linen pieces I know sell well in this brand. This is just a linen button-up shirt. I listed this for $50. It did sell for full asking price. And this next one also sold to the same buyer for full asking price. So definitely keep your eye out for Vitamin A. There's definitely a demand for it, and both of these sold pretty quickly. And then this one, yeah, full asking price, $40. All right, next up, this is an Under Armour sale. I don't know if you guys remember, but I talked about, we did a deep dive on Under Armour, Under Armour pieces. What am I trying to say? Under Armour deep dive, where we deep dived the brand. This was several months ago, so I'm kind of wondering if maybe comps have changed a little bit. But something I do know is that their Under Armour Storm line performs pretty well, which is originally why I picked this up. This is a men's Under Armour Storm camo vest. I think we originally listed it a little bit too high. It ended up selling on an offer for around $41. And this was listed back in November, so definitely has taken a little while to sell, but for Under Armour, $41 for a pre-owned item is definitely great. So keep your eyes out for the Under Armour Storm line. This is an aesthetic sale. This one I think took so long to sell just because there was issues with the faux leather. There was some wear to it. Plus it was faux leather and not real leather. But these are a pair of vintage Y2K no boundary shoes. I've mentioned it so many times, but like Y2K chunky heel shoes, it doesn't really matter the brand. Like, it sells so well for me. I have sold so many no name or used to be cheap brands in this style for so much money. So definitely keep your eye out for it. I listed these back in December. Like I said, I think the reason they sat so long was because the faux leather did have some wear to it, and I probably listed them too high because of that. I originally listed these probably close to $65, and I ended up accepting an offer of $40 from a buyer this past week, which is still great for, you know, a Y2K no boundaries item with some wear. $40. Next up, along those same lines, this is another Y2K sale. I actually used this listing before it sold with my team because when we originally listed it, we did not include the right keywords. Like, there's a lot of New Balance stuff, and unfortunately it's pretty oversaturated except in certain pieces. And so because they were an older style and I could tell that they were very Y2K, we did a meeting and we, talked about the listing and asked how we could sell it better, basically. So we went back and edited this listing and added the keyword Y2K and chunky. And I think somewhere in the description, it also says like dad for like a chunky dad sneaker. So if you've got anything like this and it's not moving, maybe consider that, because that's definitely what pulled this sale through. And it was like, as soon as we edited it, it sold the next week. So I definitely attribute the sale to putting the right keywords into the listing. We listed these Y2K chunky New Balance sneakers for $45. They ended up selling on an offer to watcher for $38. And like I said, they sold pretty much immediately after adding those keywords. Here is another shoe sale. This is one that has sat for me. This is the brand Sorel, which is a pretty decent brand, but it's just a good example of, even though something is a really great brand, does not mean it is a quick flip in a style. And I also listed this in the wrong season, but you guys know me, minimalist reseller. I'm just going to go ahead and list it. So these are the Nadia buckle sandals. I listed them back in August, and they just now have sold at a drop price of $38. So still a pretty decent sale, but longer sitting than I would prefer them to. So I think I'm going to pass on Sorel sandals unless they are like a chunky platform or something like that. Next up, this is Barefoot Dreams. I've mentioned this in recent videos. We're still selling a lot of Barefoot Dreams. And I was really shocked when I came across this, because I thought maybe it was a robe, but it turns out they make wrap dresses, and I did not know that. So I thought it was an interesting sale to share with you guys. The dresses do have a pretty good sell-through rate, even still in warmer weather. I listed this for $40. It sold for my full asking price, and it took less than a week to sell. This is a brand I will probably always show, just because a lot of people still don't know about it, and it's such like a plain brand, and all their stuff looks worn in, that most people are definitely passing on this because they don't know what to look for. It is Aviator Nation, extremely high sell-through rate in most things that they sell. This is just a women's cut t-shirt. Listed this for $45. It sold for full asking price. And this one did take a few months to sell, probably because there was sun fading on it and someone had DIY cut the hem. Even with all of that, it still sold for full asking price of $45. So that shows you how well this brand can do. All right, next up, this is the leg style that we've been talking about a lot, kind of this like oversized, some people call it a barrel leg. These are like verging on barrel leg. Parachute kind of pants, and cargo pants are also extremely popular. They're very gorp core. You can see we use that in the title. This is the brand Pilcrow, which is an Anthropologie brand. And yeah, I think all those keywords definitely help to sell it. These also had some bungee cords, which is also pretty trendy right now. These we listed for $40. They sold for our full asking price, and they took about 3 weeks to sell. I showed one of these in the last What Sold video. LL Bean backpacks are still performing really well. This is a vintage LL Bean backpack. It did have quite a bit of wear to it, so we dropped the price because of that. Listed this one for $34 or $35. It sold on an offer to watcher for $30. And this one also only took a couple of weeks to sell. Okay, next up, another shoe sale. This is the brand Dansko. This one was actually a very quick sale. Danskos perform pretty well for me in their more modern styles like this. I listed these Tasha leather sandals for $40. They sold the next day after being listed on an offer to watcher for $34. This one was also a really fun sale. I love the vintage sales and like the gut instinct sales. So this is the brand Coriel, which I wouldn't memorize this brand, but this was just a very unique print men's piece. It was a 70s Western shirt, and it was in pretty excellent condition other than some wash wear, which was still in fantastic condition for its age. But I just really love the print on this. I thought it was a very unique piece. So I made sure to include keywords like 70s and Western. I listed this for $40, which is basically a made up price, but I'm having some pretty decent luck with it. just, going off of gut instinct and what I've sold stuff at before. So listed this one for $40. It did sell for full asking price. This one did take a few months to sell, but full asking price on a gut instinct pickup, I think is a pretty great sale. All right, this is the brand Loudmouth. I've sold a lot of these recently. This is probably the last one that's still hanging on. I also did a men's golf brands deep dive, and this was included in that. Recently got a bunch of Loudmouth golf shorts from a wholesaler. If you're watching, thank you. This one was one of the last, if not the last one to sell. The other sold very quickly. I think the reason this, I know the reason this sat so long is because, as you can see, there were multiple issues with it. Spots, the color bleeding was there. And so it has sat a little bit, and it ended up selling for $32, even with all of that wear. So again, just shows you that there is a following in Loudmouth golf. All right, you guys know I also did a Chico's deep dive recently, and that was not the best deep dive. Like, I felt like my heart was being ripped out of my chest because Chico's just has really, it just doesn't have evidence that it's selling well anymore. Go back and watch that deep dive. There are still some things that I would pick up in Chico's, but most of it probably not. Excuse me. And there are still some like unique pieces that still catch my eye. Like this piece, this is a vintage Chico's label, and it was like a super duper artsy, really unique kind of folklore looking top. Just a really good gut instinct on this one. So I went ahead and picked it up against, my better judgment after doing that deep dive. I just couldn't say no. And I listed this one for $30. It did sell pretty quickly, actually, within less than a week, just a few days, for full asking price. So I was pretty happy with that sale. And yeah, Chico's, again, I am super picky with. It doesn't mean you have to be picky with it. Do what you want, but I am being really picky with the pieces. All right. Next up, this is more bread and butter, but I come across these pretty often during the summer, so I thought I would share them with you guys. They're the Tahari linen tops, specifically in the plus sizes. Generally are pretty great flips and tend to have a pretty decent sell-through rate. This one is a 2X, longer length tunic, long sleeve, all good factors. Because of that, I priced this one a little higher at $30. It did sell for full asking price, and it took just over a month to sell. Same thing with this brand, Cynthia Rowley. Their linen pieces during this time of the year can do well. I do still, just like the Tahari pieces, try to stick to plus size. However, the only reason I made an exception for this one, which was not plus size, was because it was a more substantial piece, being an open knit hoodie. So I listed this one for $30. It did sell for full asking price, and it also only took about a week to sell. Lots of linen in this video. Here is another linen piece. This is by the brand Reformation. I pick up literally anything in this brand, and it usually sells. This one I think we just happened to price too high in the beginning. It's a little tie front top. I think we listed it initially around maybe $50. It ended up selling on an offer for $30, which was a when I drop prices, I then add best offer just to get the item moving. So someone sent me an offer for $30, and I went ahead and accepted. Here is another one that took a while to sell where I priced it too high. You guys have asked me to show, the mistakes, the bread and butter and all that. So this is why I'm including a lot of these sales, but still sold for a great price. This is the brand Foxcroft. I think I showed it in the last what sold as well. Their plus size pieces perform very well. This is a gauzy women's top, and it was also new with tags, which is why we priced it so high initially. It ultimately ended up getting price dropped for sitting too long because we priced it too high, and it ended up selling on an offer for $30. This I think I showed in I don't know if it was a thrift with me or a thrift haul, but I know a lot of you guys were surprised that I even picked this up. This is a vintage Y2K energy top, and this is a pretty good brand to look for in Y2K stuff. And this one I was Excuse me, I have something in my throat. This was one I found dead stock. So new with tags, but vintage is dead stock. So that's why we included that in the title. And this was a super cute little racerback tank top. Just completely screams Y2K to me. And yeah, great sale. I listed this for $35 because it was dead stock, new with tags, and it did end up selling for full asking price. This one took, let's see here. This one took a couple of months to sell. But yeah, great sale for a brand that, didn't used to sell for a lot. And this is also a category that I'm still looking for during this time of the year. It's like UPF sun protection pieces. Coolabar is a pretty decent brand to look for in sun protection pieces, depending on, what you find. Make sure to do your comps. These are a pair of women's wide leg pants. They were a size large. Listed these for $35. They did sell for full asking price, and they only took a few days to sell. Next up, this is a Free People graphic t-shirt brand called Daydreamer. A lot of people don't know about this brand, so if you see it, it's a Free People graphic t-shirt brand, and it performs pretty well, so keep your eye out for it. Super soft feeling graphic shirts. So this one was a Pink Floyd pre-owned shirt by that brand. I listed it for $35. It did sell for full asking price, and this one took about a month and a half to sell. This is a Lilly Pulitzer piece. I think we all know that, that Lilly Pulitzer pieces during this time of the year can be very good. This one was also a size large, which helped. But the reason I wanted to show you this one is just because it's not typical for Lilly Pulitzer. You can see that this is a metallic long length dress. Like if I saw this, I definitely wouldn't think Lilly Pulitzer unless I was looking at the tag. So I like showing you guys, I guess, the exceptions to the rules, just so you keep your eye out for stuff like this and don't pass on it. This was called the Perigee Maxi Dress, again in a size large, which definitely helped to up the value. I listed this for $125. It did sell for full asking price. Great sale, and it only took about a week to sell as well. This is a cashmere piece. We're still going pretty strong with cashmere. It has to be a brand that, has a decent following and retails for a little bit. It can't be like Charter Club cashmere or anything like that. But pretty much any other brand that holds a little bit more weight, we are still selling in cashmere. This is a collaboration with CP Shades, which is a pretty good brand. And I have never heard of, however you pronounce this, Tradicionoti cashmere. But just the fact that it was collaborated with CP Shades, it was a longer length cashmere sweater, all good signs of a potentially valuable item. And it turns out that this was. We listed this for $125, and it did take several months to sell, but it did sell for our full asking price. So I was really happy with that flip. All right, next up, this is an Eileen Fisher piece. This is another example of listing something in the wrong season and having to wait for it to sell in the right season. This is a sleeveless, kind of slouchy jumpsuit, very trendy shape in jumpsuits right now. Again, size large. And this one, I think we probably listed close to $100 originally. It ultimately ended up selling for a dropped price of $81 in the appropriate season, but obviously sold for $81. So if I'd come across an Eileen Fisher jumpsuit like this now, I would absolutely pick it up. And last one on eBay before we dive into some of the Poshmark sales. This is Anthropologie plus size. I always get Anthropologie plus size pieces. They perform very well if you price them right. And this one was called the Wanderer pant, and it was new with tags, size 22W. We also originally listed this way too high, guess theme of the video, and these ended up selling on a dropped price for $65. And that's why I think it's so important, at least for my business model, to drop prices every month once an item becomes 90 days or older, because I can capture within the right season the sale if I'm gradually dropping prices. So I'm not dropping, so much that I'm selling this at like 20 bucks, but I'm dropping it enough that it's capturing the right buyer and making an impact. So I really like this method of dropping prices every month. All right, moving on to the Posh sales and finishing up the video. This is a great brand. I don't come across it often enough, but it's Norma Kamali. Most of their pieces are just solid black, so you kind of have to know what to look for. This one is just a black blazer jacket, and I originally listed it probably close to like 50, 60 bucks. It ended up selling on an offer for 42 on Poshmark, and I haven't really found anything in this brand that hasn't sold quickly and for good money. Next up, this is just an Athleta t-shirt. I thought it was worth mentioning. It is a newer style Athleta piece, which are still selling well for me. This was the Stratus 2 t-shirt. It sold for $25, which is a great flip for a pre-owned t-shirt on Posh. This is a brand that has a pretty good retail and resale value. It is Wanakomi. I can usually notice this brand because it just has like certain features to it, like these little rope details, the leather ends. Sometimes there's like a patch. I actually think there is one. There's a little patch here as well. So lots of indicators of this brand. I can usually tell what it is just from the way the exterior looks. But I have really good luck with this brand. This one was called the Hamilton Sherpa hoodie. This one's a men's piece. I listed it originally around $75. It sold pretty quickly, and I accepted an offer of $60 for it, especially because, you know, again, we're in warmer weather. Someone's offering me 60 out of 75. Like, I'm definitely going to take that in the middle of summer. Next up, this is a purse flip. This is the brand Patricia Nash. If you guys don't know this brand, this is an excellent brand to be aware of in leather goods. They make a lot of really high quality leather things, wallets, handbags, stuff like that. This one was a much smaller bag. Had it been larger, it definitely would have sold for a lot more. But just a small little crossbody purse. It sold on an offer for $65. This will probably be my favorite sale of the week because it is Old Navy. It's pre-owned. It's just a little flannel shirt and it sold for $50. If you guys aren't already following me on Instagram, I think I shared this one on eBay, or not eBay, on YouTube as well. But I do share little pockets of information on Instagram that I don't always share on YouTube. I keep wanting to say eBay. On YouTube, just because I don't want to constantly bother you guys with short form content on here, because I know you like the long form content. But if you like the short form content, I do put snippets of stuff like bolos to look for, like this Old Navy Taylor Swift lookalike flannel. So follow me over there if you're not already. It's the same handle, Cayley Elaine. And yeah, I shared this on there. I was so happy to finally find it. It has to be this specific colorway. So it's got to be this specific one. And I listed this for $50 on Poshmark, thinking I'd probably get close to $40, and it actually just sold outright for my full asking price. So I'm super happy with that, and that's definitely a win for me. Pre-owned Old Navy flannel shirt for $50. All right, next up, this is a Patagonia pair of canvas bib overalls. Overalls in general right now, and just about any brand, have an elevated price increase. So brands that you wouldn't normally pick up, like Old Navy maybe, in overalls during this time of the year can perform well. So definitely look them up if you come across them. They generally perform pretty good. And obviously if you've got a brand like Patagonia, they're going to do even better. These I originally listed closer to $100, and I accepted an offer of $70 for these. These are another Y2K find. These are Ed Hardy jeans. See a lot of the graphics on here. Ed Hardy is a great Y2K brand to be on the lookout for. I listed these for $65 and accepted an offer of $45 because I thought it was a reasonable offer and I wanted to get them moving. Next up, this is a J. Crew men's shirt. J. Crew men's, well, and women's, but J. Crew men's specifically in linen can perform very well, and in women's too, depending on what you have. So I flipped these pretty quickly during this time of the year, and they're fairly easy to come across. So J. Crew men's Irish linen button-down shirt. I originally listed it for $35. It sold on an offer for $28. Here's that brand Foxcroft again. This is a 100% linen plus size Foxcroft top. It sold for $35, which is great for pre-owned Foxcroft. And just a reminder again, Foxcroft I typically only get in plus sizes. The smaller sizes definitely do not perform as well. This was a gut instinct pickup. I've been having some really good luck with high quality feeling tie-dye pieces, and I don't know how else to explain it other than saying high quality tie-dye pieces, but I've been taking some risks on them recently. This is just the brand Vintage Havana, which is a pretty common brand, but this was a really nice feeling sweatshirt. It had like a oversized balloon sleeve, which we probably could have done a better job of showing the sleeves of, but regardless, it still sold very quickly. I think I listed it for $30 or $35 on Poshmark and expected around $25 to $30. Got an offer for $25 and I went ahead and accepted. Here's that brand Vitamin A again, and this one sold on Poshmark. Again, this is a linen shirt. It went for $35. And finishing up with another Y2K piece. This is why I love doing that deep dive on Y2K, just because, you know, there's a lot of pieces that we're probably passing on at the thrift store that make tons of money because this is a very popular trend right now. Abercrombie and Fitch older pieces are definitely one of them. This is an Abercrombie and Fitch men's long sleeve shirt. It is Y2K. You can see it's got a spell out. Plus it's the muscle line, which I've noticed performs extremely well also. And this one sold for $25. Alright guys, so that's it for what sold last week. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe down below and hit the notification bell. If you do that, you'll be notified every single time I post these videos, and I try to make what sold videos every single week. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.